This is the official Liberty Sports NCAA tournament bracket edition. We're on the eve of the tournament, which is, I mean, let's talk about it. Like it's the greatest 4 days in sports, right? I mean, it's all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I asked questions because earlier this week we had St. Patrick's Day on Monday.
Mhm.
Do you think more people call off of work for St. Patrick's Day or for round one in of the NCAA tournament?
I think it's probably for the tournament because at least with St. Patrick's Day, there's always the chance that it'll fall on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday. Also, people people go crazy for the tour. I mean, people put a lot of money on these tournament games and things of that nature too. So
Yeah.
they take their brackets extremely seriously and they're in a lot of pools with a lot of different money. So I would definitely say the tournament.
Yeah, plus I think like St. Patrick's Day was on a Monday, right? So there, I
Right.
mean, everybody was having parties and stuff, you
Over the
know,
weekend.
on Saturday and Sunday anyway. You know, the right down the street by my office in the downtown Toledo's, the Blarney was they had the street blocked off and the Big Ten out and everything else, but outside of that, like I mean that was that was about it. Most places
Yeah.
outside of that were pretty normal on a Monday.
I'll tell you, even in Orlando, Florida, it was everything was just kind of like it's just a Monday. Like it wasn't everything was over the weekend for sure. So
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're on the eve of the official. Well, look, the real tournament's the 64, right? So they got these four little playing games. And like, what are we doing here? Okay, like the real tournament's the field of 64. We got the playing games as it stands right now. Three of the four playing games are done, and we got um Texas is beating Xavier right now um, in that one. But what I mean, what do you think about the playing games, the first four they call it? I mean,
so I don't like it for the sense that for one, well, let's just start and I asked you this off camera, but we got to find the exact year. But playing for an 11 seed kind of is weird. Like, why is it an 11 seed? That's the plan. If anything, you would think that it would be for the 15 seed, like the last seed in the round, you would think would be a plan, right? And
right,
I don't know. To me, it's the play-ins for an 11 seed is kind of dumb to me. Um, and especially now when you got these two teams in 11 seed, like for example, you just said, Texas and Xavier. You're telling me that both Texas and Xavier wouldn't make more of a run than High Point or Wooford or these type of schools. Like and granted, yes, the one of the best parts about the tournament is always having these random teams that you never heard of. And every now and again they do upset, and that is always super fun and exciting to go through and watch. But let's get down to the logistics of it. I mean, why have these two teams play in for an 11 seed that clearly could both make more of a run than your, 13 through 15s?
right, and that's the way I look at it too. So fine, you want to do the first four, you want to give these 16 seeds a shot at winning. Although we did have, recently we did have 16 seed beating a one or whatever, but
Mhm.
for forever and ever before that it had never happened, and so you give them a shot at winning a game, and it's called a tournament game, and they have a tournament win, which is fine for me. If you want to do all 16s and
Yeah.
do the first four that way, then that's better to me, because when we're sitting there and we're talking about the last four in and the first four out, and we had some controversy
hmm
this year with North Carolina, right?
hmm
It eliminates that. I mean, obviously there's always going to be, okay, well, it just slides down, but then you can push those first four out, you can push them into the tournament, because then you're taking, even you win your conference tournament for like, you know uh Mount St. Mary's and
Right.
American and stuff like that, and then they play the 16. You still won your conference. You still
Hmm.
got into the tournament. You have your chance to win a tournament game and stuff like that. I think that if you do it that way, then you're bumping the last four out into the tournament, and then you eliminate some of the controversy like we had with North Carolina. And boy, did they say, you know
Yeah.
what? Oh, you don't think we should be here? Let's go ahead and win by 1,000,
Yeah.
right? And you know, like so yeah, I think that the 11 seeds playing right now, like Xavier in Texas, we talk about that, like they could beat people.
Right.
You know, what are we doing there? Why is that the case? And you know, it's selfishly and for America's sake, because one of the funnest things and the best things about this is filling out your bracket,
Yeah.
right? And you know, so do you fill your bracket out before the first four games, or do you fill your bracket out after the first four games? Now, if we did all 16 seeds, chances are you're not really going to change much depending on the outcome of those first four games.
Right.
But with these 11 seeds playing, it could really change what you're doing,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Certainly.
but yeah, so that's our thoughts and rants on the first four. Um, but it is. And speaking of the brackets, we're going to fill out our brackets. We're going to do it, and we're going to go through. But before we get into the brackets, I wanted to have a little fun with you,
Okay.
because like you brought up the Waffords and the High
Yep.
Points and stuff like that, and then that's
Oh,
kind of the fun part of these tournaments,
I
right?
think I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to ask you is I picked out um I picked out 14 of the teams that are in this tournament. There's 14 that um they're just kind of fun teams,
Hmm.
but the names of the universities don't really say much about where they're from. So I want to see
If I
if
can
you can
guess.
guess where these universities are located. Um, I think that we could also have a little bit of fun with you trying to guess what their nicknames are.
Oh,
But
jeez, oh, Pete. Okay.
uh, but but we will we'll go with where are they from.
Oh, this
Uh,
is gonna be so hard.
you get a bonus point if you can say that. But so let's start with number one. We'll start with something that someone that's kind of easy. I think that you should that's a little bit, but it's Creighton. Where's Creighton from?
Creighton is it in one of the Carolinas?
No,
Yeah, you know what? And it's funny because I literally just had this conversation with somebody not too long ago at work. Um, and we looked it up. Is it Pennsylvania? It's one of the no, no, it's not Pennsylvania.
no, it's not.
Rhode Island.
No. All right, you don't know. You have no idea where
It's
Creighton
one of
is.
those states.
Do you know what the Creighton's mascot is?
Well, I know their logo's got a bird.
Yeah, but what kind of bird?
Are they the Blue Jays?
They are Creighton Blue Jays. The
Okay.
Creighton Blue Jays hail from Omaha, Nebraska.
Nebraska, that's where it is.
Yeah, yeah,
It was one of those like longer states.
yeah, yeah. Longer states. What? I don't even know what that means. Longer what?
Well, like Michigan is it's a mitten. Ohio is more of like a, like Nebraska, Pennsylvania.
Nebraska is
It's like,
long. Long in what
well,
way?
it's like a square. It's like a big, maybe a
So how is that long?
a rectangle. It's more rectangular a little bit.
Anyway, so that's embarrassing for you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on. Number two, Lipscomb.
Like
Where's
Lipscomb.
a Lipscomb from? Do you know what the mascot is?
No, because and in fact, I was trying to even cheat here, and I
You can't
had
even you
and
can't
I
even
have my
Google it fast enough.
basket.
Stop Googling.
No,
Don't
I'm
look
not
down.
Googling. No, I'm not Googling. I just have the bracket on my phone and I'm
Oh,
seeing the teams and their logo is just a block L. So that gives me
yeah, that's not going to
absolutely
help you.
nothing.
This one is just it doesn't make any sense at all.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
No. So Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And you think Nashville, Tennessee. So what do you think of
Yeah.
immediately when you think of Nashville, Tennessee as the mascot being?
It's gonna be like some sort of cowboy or
No,
Western.
it's absolutely a bison.
Okay.
So it's the Lipscomb Bisons from Nashville, Tennessee. Oh,
Okay.
here's a good one. Bryant. Where do the people, first of all, what are they called?
I mean, at some point there's got to be some sort of cat flying, like a cougar or a lion or a mountain lion or a
I'll tell you one
jaguar,
thing. Of all these,
bobcat.
there's one cat, but that's it of all of these. So this is the other one where you could just guess for half of them and almost be right because it's a nickname that is probably the most popular. Hey, we will look this up. Like what is the most popular nickname of the NCAA schools? But this one's probably right there.
Okay, so what is it? Like a well, you said it's not a cat.
What are you looking down? You're looking at your phone. You can't be cheating.
I'm not. This is impossible. You know this, right? Like
So
this
the
is
DeBryant Bulldogs,
bulldogs.
and they
It's a
hail from
dog.
the fine city of Smithfield in Rhode Island.
Have you ever been to Smithfield?
No.
Has anyone who hasn't attended Bryant lived in or been to Smithfield?
Well, the teams that visit them when they play
Oh,
them,
okay. Yeah, sure.
but that's it. Okay, this one you better get where they're from because it's Norfolk State.
Norfolk State's in Texas.
Boy.
They're not in Texas?
No, what
Norfolk, the green,
yeah,
their colors are green. They're not in Texas? I thought they were in Texas.
no. Norfolk, the city of Norfolk.
I don't know what a Norfolk.
Virginia, dude.
To be honest with you, I've always known what Norfolk State University. I've always knew who they were. Never knew Norfolk was a city.
What are they called?
Aren't they? Their logo is like a green looking Star Wars kind of deal.
Well, who wears helmets when they fight in battle?
Are they the Knights?
No, they're the Spartans.
The Spartans.
You're
Their
doing
logo is
really
not
well
as
here.
Spartan. That's the.
It's a Spartan. Quit looking. All right,
I'm
so
just
here we
trying to
go.
look at what
Now
the logo is.
we've got the Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon is in Arizona.
Yes, it is. Very good. Phoenix. What is the nickname of the Grand
Actually,
Canyons
didn't GC Grand Canyon?
University? Yes.
They actually didn't they have a run not too long ago? In
Well,
a
so
few
the
years
women's
ago?
team, the women's team has made the tournament in the women's side for the first time ever. Their baseball team's pretty good.
Maybe it was their
Baseball team,
baseball team had a run that brought them kind of back to relevancy a little bit.
yeah,
So
swept Arizona State last year.
yeah, so yeah, Grand Canyon, they're in Phoenix. I don't know what they are though. The mountains.
No, they're the antelopes, but they go by lopes.
That's right, because I remember seeing a jersey in the baseball and it said Lopes, and I was like, "What's
Lopes.
a lope?"
It's an antelope. Okay, so this is your this one you should know. You should be all about this one. The Drakes. Drake.
Are they from Toronto, Canada? And is their logo an owl?
No.
Okay, well, it was pretty close.
No.
If we're
None of it.
if we're going off of Drake, it's close to Drake. It sounds like an older school, which means it's probably like a more pristine city and state, like maybe like a Philadelphia
No.
or like
I don't
a
know if I don't know if Philadelphia has ever been called pristine before in
well
the history of all time, but that's the first. So,
that founding fathers, the Liberty
yeah,
Bell, that's pretty.
no, you're really close. It's Des Moines, Iowa. Uh, what would what what would their nickname be?
Are they some sort of dog or cat?
Dog.
Bulldogs again.
Bulldogs. Yes, the Drake Bulldogs.
I think this is the first one I've ever got.
Well, did you really though? So okay, now this one you brought them up earlier, so you should know because you were using them as a reference point. It's Wofford.
I was using that as a reference point.
Where's the Woffords?
Um, the Woffords are probably going to be. I'm gonna feel like it's gonna be more of a dry state, like
Could
more
be kind of
middle,
dry, I guess.
like more middle of the country.
I wouldn't say middle of the country.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast?
All right, I'm gonna say they're in Louisiana,
No.
Alabama,
No.
Maine.
No. South Carolina. Three strikes and you're out. So there's Spartansburg, South Carolina. What is the Wofford's mascot?
A dog.
It is a dog.
But to be specific, is it like a hound?
No.
It's not another bulldog, is it?
It's not, but it's similar.
It's a Frenchie
Well, close. It's a terrier.
Terrier.
It kind of looks
Yeah,
like the Boston Terrier.
Boston Terrier.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got um the Troy.
The Troy Trojans.
Troy Trojans, very good.
Now I know, yeah, and Troy is in Texas.
No.
Shit. At least I got their name.
I will say the city is Troy, but it's not in Texas. It's a state that you said earlier, though.
Alabama, Louisiana. One of
Which one?
those two.
Alabama. So they're
Alabama.
Troy, Alabama. Okay. So we talked about, oh, you brought these guys up too. You talked about High Point. Where
I,
is High Point?
that sounds like some sort of military type of school. But High Point, I'm gonna guess it's Colorado
No,
because you talk about like high point altitude.
that's good. That's good logical reasonings, but the city is High Point.
Man, this is really awaking, like it's opening my eyes that I haven't taken geography in a while, and that these clues should be giveaways that are not.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about like well, some of the clues, yeah, that's pretty bad. But I it was like these schools, like I mean, it's unbelievable. So they're from High Point, North Carolina.
Carolina. See, I just feel like at some point, I feel
Yeah.
like if you just guess North or South Carolina, you at least got a 50% shot. There's like, all right, so the
All right,
high point.
we
Oh,
got
wait, what was
five
the
more.
who are
We'll run
they?
through them.
No,
We'll
but who
run
are
through
they?
them real quick.
Who are
We
the
just
high points though? What are
huh?
they? High point, what are
Oh,
they?
they're the Panthers.
Oh, okay. A lot of
High
Panthers
Point
out there in
Panthers.
North Carolina.
Okay, you get one guess at the nickname and you get one guess at the state.
Okay.
So we can speed this up a little bit. So the McNeese State
They're the Cowboys.
the Cowboys, good. And where are they from?
McNeese State, I've actually heard of them before. That's the
Joe
thing.
Dumars went there from the Detroit Pistons.
Tennessee.
They are in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Oh, Louisiana.
Okay, Robert Morris.
Okay, I've heard of Robert Morris before. Robert Morris is in Pennsylvania.
Very good.
Let's
Moon
go.
Township, Pennsylvania. And
Um,
what are
eh,
they called?
they are the Falcons.
Colonials, which is close. That's
Colonials, okay.
okay. Liberty. Liberty. The Liberty Sports Podcast. Liberty.
So and it's this is so stupid because I know Liberty. I literally know Liberty. I literally have their logo in my head. They're a bird.
The logo's not going to help you with their nickname.
Isn't their logo a bird? Or I guess is it the eagle just because of Liberty?
Oh, I don't know. I have
But
no
isn't
idea.
their logo like a bird, like an eagle or like a road
Yeah,
runner or something?
something
That,
like that.
but that's
It's a
not
bird
their,
of some.
but
It's
they're
a
not a
bird of
bird.
prey.
But they're not a bird.
No.
Perfect. And I don't know where they're at either.
Okay,
Well,
so
I'm gonna just guess. I'm gonna guess with the name like Liberty. I'm just gonna guess Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
no, you're wrong. It's they're in Lynchburg, Virginia,
Okay.
and they're the Flames.
See, I know who I know. I've always known the school Liberty.
Right.
Never even thought to ask myself those questions. Because
Yeah.
why? I mean, why would you?
Okay, so this one we this one you should get these last two because we the game was just on. Mount St. Mary's.
Didn't watch the game.
Okay, good.
So, so Mount St. Mary's. Well, St. Mary's is got to be in
I'll tell you
Indiana.
this one. Mount St. Mary's gives you hints to both the nickname and the state that they're from.
Indiana.
It's almost embarrassing that that was the first thing out of your like. There's no mountains in Indiana.
I was just process of elimination. I haven't said that state yet, so I just thought maybe I'd pull a rabbit out of a hat. But I guess we'll wherever the mountains are, Colorado, Montana.
No, Maryland,
Okay.
Mary, land,
All right.
and they are the Mountaineers.
The Mountaineers.
Mount St.
St.
Mary's
Mary's
Mountaineers
Mountaineers.
from
Okay, see, but
Emmitsburg,
now that you say
Maryland.
that, now that you say that, that's cool. It makes sense. You weren't
It
gonna,
would make sense.
you can't just, you're not just gonna guess that.
This one makes the most sense out of anything that's ever made sense in the history of making sense. The American Eagles are from where?
Philadelphia.
No, Washington, D.C.
I I forget. I just wanted something to be from.
No, you didn't get anything right. You
No,
didn't get
I got the
anything
Troy
right.
Trojans.
Yeah, well, you didn't get the state right. You got the nickname right. That was the only thing you got right in that
And then
whole game.
I got what school that was in Pennsylvania? I don't remember what it was, but I got them too.
So to answer your question, the first four started in um 2011.
But was it always 11 seeds?
Please hold.
Man, that was really tough guessing those cities and names. I mean, you know what people, but a lot of people I feel like are gonna sit here and make fun of me and say that I'm stupid. But I just want to know how many you would have gotten.
Oh, I would have done better than you.
I don't think so. I don't think it's possible without any prior knowledge or recollection. It's pretty tough.
It is tough. But that's I mean it's unbelievable. I would have done better on the nicknames than on the states that they were from. Like the Creighton Blue Jays one always gets me because I always think it's like something like like Northeast,
Yes, and that's why I
something like that.
always whatever.
Okay. So has been 11 seeds.
At the time of this recording, Cade Cunningham just hit a game-winning three-pointer in Miami. On the topic of basketball, and since we mentioned how good the Pistons and Cade were last episode,
Um Last year the first four featured 10 seeds.
see, that's even worse. Yeah, I don't like it. I think that if you're gonna do the playoff thing, it should be low, like the lowest seeds.
You do all 16s.
Right,
Do
16
the
seeds.
four 16 seeds, have them play a play in,
Right, because
give them,
you want to
a
talk
shot
about
at having two games.
you want to talk about your Liz Combs and your Wolfords and your Drakes and all that. Well, you say giving them a 16 seed and a shot in the tournament's exposure. Well, you add four more into the mix for a play in. That's even more exposure for those type of schools.
Well, they're all getting in regardless, but they get an extra game. Like four of them are going to have two games. without having to shock the world,
Yeah,
right? Like so, um, like the Mount St. Mary's versus American Eagles game
would be
was.
unbelievably. Like, did
Oh,
you?
that was
Oh,
earlier today.
that was the one that
Yeah,
happened today that
that
I
that
had no
had
idea
you
about.
enthralled.
Was a good game. I didn't.
Not really. Mount St. Mary's kind of ran away with it. But okay, so are you ready to reveal your tournament of 64 bracket picks?
Yes, we're gonna do them here.
First of all, before we get into it, how much thought have you given to it?
Well, I actually already made a bracket.
I know, but what how much thought have you given to who you're gonna like or
I'm gonna be honest with
like
you.
when you pick,
Hmm.
are you picking based off of the matchup or do you try to go with like tournament trends that have happened in the past?
I factor a little bit of everything, but depending on the season, I kind of lean towards teams who got hot at the end and who got hot in their respective conference tournaments. It's kind of where I tend to lean. And then, of course, a little bit of
Of like the
favoritism too.
Power Five.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, of like the Big Ten,
Yeah,
SEC, things like that. And of course, a little bit of favoritism to schools and stuff that I've always kind of liked and respected.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it all kind of goes into factor a little bit. I think it's just so tough because you want to go matchup, right? But as
Uh,
you know, in the tournament, matchups don't always matter. So, I mean, this is the tournament where upsets are made popular. So, matchups
right.
are tough to kind of.
But I do think that it is kind of fun to to try to follow the trends and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah, for sure.
But okay, so do you want to go or shall I go?
It doesn't matter. Either of us
Just
can start.
do we go region by region?
Yeah, let's go. We'll go region by region instead
Okay.
of one whole bracket at a time.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Why don't you go? I'm gonna pull up the bracket here and we're gonna fill it live on air. Well, it's not live at all because this is recorded.
So that
We're
was
not on air
no. All right. So
and
we're
nobody but my mom watches this anyway. So,
no, I've gotten some people at work.
oh, good.
Yeah, so we should be up to like 6 people now. All right, so let's start with the South region, obviously. I'll go first.
Yes.
All right. So I don't think I know we talked about upsets and all this in the past. I don't think that we're even concerned for this one here. I'm gonna go Auburn.
Yeah, that's not a tough one.
Now, the Louisville Creighton, now that one is a tough one because even though I didn't know where Creighton was, I still know that they were a Blue Jay.
Right.
And Creighton has always been good in basketball. However, so is Louisville. And so sometimes if I haven't done much, like if I haven't watched much of these teams throughout the year too, I'll kind of just go based off of knowledge of the program.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Creighton.
Okay.
UC San Diego. And then all
Is
right,
that
Texas
any is
A&M.
that any for any other reason other than your hatred of TTUN?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no other reason. Well, UC San Diego could make some noise, right? I mean, they've got some guys that are good. They got some guys. Um, all right, Texas A&M and M and Yale. Now, if they were having a, you know, math off, I would definitely go with Yale. Um, but no, I'm gonna go A&M. They actually looked really good too throughout the season. Um, I thought they were gonna make a bit of a deeper run actually in the SEC tournament, but I think that's gonna motivate them. I think they'll win a couple games here. So, but we'll go
So you,
A&M. Now, Ole Miss, North Carolina. This I think is interesting because you look at the year Ole Miss had, and then we just talked about it. You know these play-ins and first four in and out, and we saw how North Carolina responded. with that. So I'm gonna go North Carolina because I think they're kind of playing with a chip on their shoulder right now. And I think that's a dangerous opponent to play against. Now we got our Lipscomb
The
already
Lipscomb Bisons.
from Tennessee. Yes, I remember now. But no, we're gonna go Iowa State. In fact, you had predicted, or was it me? One of us had predicted Iowa State in the Final Four, like way
Of like a
over.
month ago,
Yeah,
which was probably one of the dumbest things because that was me and it was
but I'm
dumbness.
still. We're gonna go with Iowa State there. Marquette and New Mexico. Marquette's one of those schools that are always kind of around. They're always kind of relevant in the tournament and in basketball, college basketball. So I'm gonna go Marquette, and then we're gonna go Sparty, of course.
Okay.
This is the month of Izzo.
So that's your first round games in the South region.
Yes. Now let's
My
go to you.
picks for the first round games in the South region is obviously Auburn. Um, the Louisville Creighton game is actually kind of interesting to me. Um, they're somewhat evenly matched. The only problem that I have with Creighton right now is the fact that they kind of stumbled down the stretch into the tournament. Their last 10 games, they were 6-4, whereas you got Louisville that was 9-1.
Mhm.
So because of that, then I'm going to give the nod to Louisville. Now, this game, look, I mean, everybody knows where we stand by that. But I'm gonna tell you seriously, 100%. I am gonna pick UC San Diego. I'm
No
gonna tell you
way.
why though right now. So UC San Diego has come into this tournament. They've won 15 games in a row. They got a big guy, Tate Jones, who's averaging 20 points a game. He's going to give Golden and the bigs on Michigan all kinds of fits. The other part is I would love to see him score 40 only for the fact that I want to hear the announcers say Aniwana Waniwa is his first name. So that's a good one. Um, they have a guard that Hayden Gray, who led the nation in steals, they really lock it down defensively. Um, Also, they have the third best record on a neutral floor this year at 5-0. The only two teams that were better than them on neutral sites were the Drakes at 6-0 and Florida at 8-0. So
Wow.
because of all of that,
That's
I'm
pretty good.
I'm picking the UC San Diego Tritons
Ooh, I like that.
to
Tritons.
upset. And it's a 12-5. It's
Yeah.
one of those ones where you always got to have the 12-5, right? Like
Now I'm
that's the
gonna
one.
I'm gonna sit here and say that I picked UC San Diego for all the same reasons.
Yes, good. I
And
did
you
a
knew
little
all of them.
research
You
on
did
it.
a
I
little
do a little
research. I'm
research on it
impressed.
with
I
her.
am impressed.
Okay. So we've got the Yale Bulldogs going up against Texas A&M. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go with the Yalers.
Ooh.
The bright minds of the Ivy League are look again. It's all about how you're coming into the tournament.
Hmm.
Like A&M stumbling into the tournament 5-5, and they've been up in that they've been looked really bad at times. Yale's 9-1 coming into the tournament. Um, I do think, and the Yalers put up points. I think if I can find it again real quick, yeah, 82 points a game,
Wow.
as opposed to A&M 74 points a game. So I think and 10 out of the last 14 years, a 13 has beaten a 4.
Yeah.
So here I go with that. So
That's
that's
okay.
where we're at on there. North Carolina is on a mission.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's incredible because they were 1-9 before the tournament against ranked top 25 teams, which is silly.
which is crazy to think. You
But they
think
did
North
almost
Carolina, yeah.
knock off Duke if it wasn't for the lane
Hmm.
violation in the ACC tournament. But yeah, um, I almost went with the 14 over the 3 here with my Lipscomb's Bisons, but I am gonna go Iowa State there. Um,
With your Final Four pick.
from way too early. I go Marquette and I go Sparty. Um,
I like it.
so
Pretty
we're going
similar.
back. We're going back to you now, and we're gonna drop down into the West. What do you got going for the West?
All right. I'm picking Florida. That team looked scary, scary, scary good in the SEC tournament. And that's all I'm gonna say. Florida, Florida looked really good in the SEC tournament, and they look really good right now. They're really hot at the moment. I got them going pretty far, but right here we're going Florida in this game. UConn, Oklahoma. This is another 8-9 matchup where these always could go. I mean, it's 8-9, right? These could
Yeah.
go one way or another. Now, when you think college basketball, you think UConn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go UConn. Memphis, Colorado State. This is another 12-5 type of thing, right? These games are always toss-ups too. Um, I don't know much about Colorado State's basketball program. I'm gonna pick Memphis because once again, this is like kind of going back to my strategy with how I've been doing brackets for a long time is I've been going based off of program relevancy and tournament history. And I kind of like to rely on that, kind of just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
So I'm gonna go Memphis there. Now, actually, Maryland Grand Canyon. Now, we talked about Grand Canyon. The women's team, congrats, first time making tournament, and then their baseball team went on a tear last year. Things are looking good for the university, athletic wise right now. But watching that Big Ten tournament, other than that awful choke in the championship game, or not the championship game, the semifinal game against
Yeah.
Michigan, I think Maryland has played pretty well throughout the season. Um, you know, they were a half court shot away from beating Sparty that first time. So I'm gonna go Maryland there. Now, Missouri Drake. Now, if this was another Drake representing, and we'd be going Drake all day long. But again, a 6'11. This is, I mean, these aren't crazy different seeded teams. Um, but just based off of what I'm gonna go competitive wise, and this is gonna kind of start sound football a little bit, but conference strength of schedule, Missouri being the SEC, I'm gonna go Missouri. Then of course here, I mean, we're gonna yeah, you just go ahead and keep it hovered over Texas Tech there. You didn't need much of an explanation there. Now Kansas Arkansas is actually a pretty interesting one. Um, Kansas is another one of those schools that when you think college basketball, you think Kansas. Now here they are sitting at a 7 seed,
They had a down year.
didn't have the greatest of seasons, and once again, talking about SEC and strength of schedule and all that, and, Arkansas is not outstanding. They don't really they're not flashy. They don't make me think anything crazy. Um, listen, I think Kansas had a down year. Um, and I do think the SEC was very tough, very competitive this year in basketball. Arkansas had a pretty close one against Alabama not too long ago, but I'm gonna stick with Kansas in this one. And then we're gonna go St. John's over Omaha, of course.
All right. All right. So let me drop down to the West here. Yeah, Florida. It's probably one of the most complete basketball teams I've seen in a long time. Um, UConn, Oklahoma. So Oklahoma was 6-12 in the SEC. Now the SEC was tough, but they were
Mhm.
6-12 in the SEC against good competition. Um, 4-6 of their last 10 coming into this. So I gotta go UConn there. And you know, I don't know what it is. I love my 12-5 upsets. You know, one or two of them has to hit, so I got to pick like almost all of them just because.
Yeah.
But I will say Colorado State locks it down on defense. They're only giving up 67 points a game. Um, you know, and they're on a run. Both teams have actually, you know, are on a run, but you know, Colorado State's won their last 10 games. So I'm gonna go with another 12-5 upset there. I love them. Now, you know, Maryland, Grand Canyon, again, we talked about, you know, Maryland's just going to be too much for them. The Missouris and the Drakes. I would say one thing that doesn't slump in basketball is defense.
Hmm.
And the Drake has the best defense of any team coming into this. They're giving up 58 points a game is all. Um, they're you know, Missouri Valley, whatever, all that kind of stuff, conference, whatever. They're 9-1 coming in. You know, Missouri, fine, but I'm going to tell you, the Drake can lock them down defensively. So I'm going to pick the Drake. That's going to be
There you
that's
wow.
going to
There
be
you
good.
go.
Yep, Texas Tech. Um, you know, you were right about this one. This one's kind of weird because seeing Kansas at a 7 seed. And then you got Arkansas. Coach Cal has them playing. You know, is Arkansas gonna come back? But, you know, and that I think that they're still at the very beginning stages of Coach Cal taking that thing over and running with it. One thing about Kansas is they are the most experienced team in the field as far as players having you know experience in college basketball. So I think that even though they had a down year, that experience wins out, and St. John's is going to go ahead and win that one. So we'll move back over to your bracket here and go over to the East and see what we got going on over here.
Yeah. Over in the East, obviously here, I mean, you've been saying it all year. You think Duke is the best team in the country right now. Um, well, before Florida kind of went on their tear, you were saying
Yeah.
that majority of the year. But yeah, I mean, Duke's obviously we're gonna go Duke here,
Mhm.
and then let's move down Mississippi State, Baylor. Once again, these 8-9s are just they could go either way, and this is kind of one of those where you do talk matchup, right? I know I said earlier matchups aren't everything in the tournament, you know, stuff like that. I, you know what? I like Baylor here. I like Baylor. I'm gonna go Baylor, and then Oregon Liberty. This was Oregon's first year in basketball in the Big Ten. Um, they did all right. You know, they earned themselves a 5 in the overall tournament here. It's Liberty. You love your 12-5s, but I'm gonna stick with the 5. I'm gonna go Oregon.
You hate the 12-5s.
I just no, I got UC San Diego over there in
That's
the
true.
South.
That's true. That's your 12-5. That's your 12-5.
Now, Arizona Akron. Now, while I do love the Zips, I do love the Zips. One of the best basketball players of this generation, LeBron, is from Akron, so there's some correlation to success in basketball. Um, you gotta love Ohio, right? So, but we're gonna go ahead and stick with the Cats. We're gonna go Arizona over the Zips here. Now BYU VCU. Now all I can think about is VCU and their run in the tournament
Shaka Smart
years
came
ago,
on the scene.
hmm as the 12 seed at the time. So they're the 11 here. Listen, I'm gonna go back with the nostalgia factor there, and we're gonna go VCU as at 11. See if they can do something again. Big Ten here, Wisconsin, Montana. We're gonna go Wisconsin. They look good towards the end of the tournament there, other than that loss in the championship game. But and you know they beat Sparty, who I think is top 3 best teams in the country right now. Some questionable fouls down the stretch, but still it was a competitive game, throughout. St. Mary's Vanderbilt. 7-10. Another close one here. another school that has kept relevancy because of college basketball and St. Mary's, once again, we talk strength of schedule, SEC, whatever. But I'm gonna stick with St. Mary's over Vanderbilt here. Now we'll jump back to the SEC, give them some credit, and we'll go Alabama.
Over your Robert Morris's, the Colonials.
I do love the Robert Morris Colonials.
Yeah, that's okay. So let me get back up to the East here. And yep, Duke. I mean, they got Cooper Flag. It's probably one of the best players in the country. They yeah. We don't really, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
116. Duke's gonna win now. Um, so again, this one's about as even as it gets. Both teams are limping into the tournament. Um, the only reason that's going to make me choose one over the other is, again, I like teams that play defense, and Baylor's got a little bit better defense than Mississippi State, so I'm gonna go with the Bears
the
from
Baylor
Baylor.
Bears.
You know, I love the 12-5.
You love it. You
I
love it.
do. I love the 12-5. I'll tell you this. Liberty locks down
He's
again
gonna do it again.
defensively. 62 points a game they're giving up. 9-1 heading into the tournament. The only thing that makes me nervous about this is they're the worst free throw shooting team in the tournament. That scares me a little bit.
I mean, they're free throws. You got to hit those.
Right. And especially if it's a close game down the stretch and you're missing your free throws, that's a problem.
Yep.
Or if they have a lead and Oregon has to foul to try to get the ball back, that's going to give,
Mm-hmm.
they got to make the free. But again, defense, I love it. So I'm going to go the 12-5. I love the 12-5. I'm going Liberty there. Liberty. Arizona's over Akron, although Akron is the shortest team in the tournament. They score points. They scored a lot of points. I think there's something like at like 80, 86, 87 points a game or
It's
something
pretty impressive.
like that. Um, but yeah, you got to go with the Cats. BYU over VCU. I don't have the same nostalgia. Shaka's not there anymore. He's not there to Shaka the world. Even though they do play some defense, I feel like BYU's just got a little bit too much for them there. So I'm going in that route. Obviously Wisconsin over Montana. I go Vanderbilt over St. Mary's, the Gales.
The
Um,
Gales.
yeah, I think the SEC competition. Just I feel like that's a game that Vandy's going to win, and in a close one, I got Bama over
In
the
a
Robert
close one.
Morrises.
In a close one.
So now we go down into the Midwest.
Yeah. I mean, 116, we're gonna go Houston. Now, this is something we mentioned, a while back too, a couple weeks ago. When you think tournament, and you think college basketball, Gonzaga being as low as they are, it's interesting. Um, again, you talk SEC, Georgia. SEC was very competitive this year. A lot of teams were looking good this year, but you know what? It's tournament time. Zaga's got to dig deep. I'm gonna go Gonzaga. Clemson and McNeese. McNeese. We love
The
McNeese.
Cowboys
We found out a lot about McNeese
from
today.
Louisiana. We
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. A lot of Cowboys on Bourbon Street there. Well, actually, you never know what you get on Bourbon Street, but
Well, Lake Charles, I don't necessarily know Lake Charles. I don't know. I don't know my Louisiana geography as
well,
much as
you're a
I
cowboy
necessarily.
though.
Huh?
You're a cowboy though, so
I
you
am a
should
cowboy.
right. So you should know.
Louisiana's not really full of cowboys though. So,
Okay.
or not, I mean, New Orleans isn't full of cowboys.
Now that logo right there, is that what you're gonna look like on the horse?
Oh, I'll get it
You're gonna do that
to
same.
do its
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
All right. Your goal is to do the McNeese logo, but we're gonna have Clemson winning this one. Purdue High Point, I didn't even know what a high point was, so I'm gonna go Purdue.
It is arguably the prettiest campus in the
Oh, I'm
country.
sure.
So you'll have to look that one up too. It's kind of really incredible.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that. Now this is interesting because at the time of this recording and doing this bracket, Texas,
58-50 right now.
yeah,
Texas is winning.
it's a very close game.
14 minutes to go.
Yeah. So, and this is what we were talking about, right? This is interesting because if Texas holds on, I kind of like Texas. But if Texas doesn't hold on, I'm not so sure about Xavier. So this is what's kind of frustrating here, but we also didn't want to record this at, midnight. So I'm gonna just to be safe here, I'm just gonna go Illinois. I'm gonna stick Big Ten here as a Big Ten guy, and I'm just gonna kind of stay safe and go Illinois because my luck. Now Kentucky Troy Trojans, they are the Troy Trojans. We love Troy. We did a lot. We've learned a lot about a lot of schools today.
Yeah,
But
a lot of good
unfortunately, a
information.
lot of good information. But unfortunately, I'm gonna crush their hopes and dreams. We're gonna stick with Kentucky there. Utah State, UCLA. Honestly, I'm gonna go UCLA. Being in the Big Ten and watching a lot of Big Ten games this year, I'm more well rounded on UCLA. And it's 7-10 Utah State. And then of course, I'm gonna go Tennessee here over Wolford.
All right. So that rounds out your first round. How do
First
you feel
round.
about your first round?
I'm feeling pretty good. I don't have as many 12-5s as you,
Yeah,
but
I do love the 12-5. Okay, we're gonna go Houston here. I again, I think Gonzaga's back in their normal role of kind of being, oh, here comes Gonzaga. They're gonna upset people. So I like Gonzaga. Um, 12-5.
you're not gonna do it again
I'm gonna tell you something about McNeese State. Again, I love the defense.
because you're old school.
They only give up 64 points a game. Clemson, on the other hand, only gives up 65 points a game. So they've got the defense to match, and I'm going to go 5 seed. My first 5 seed winner of the tournament.
Surprising here. Wow.
Yep, that's what we're going to do here. Purdue over the High Points. Again, this one because I'm mad that we're even doing this. I'm going to go Illinois.
I know.
Just mad at it. So that's where we're going there. We're going to go Kentucky. And then as far as UCLA and Utah State, again, it's Big Ten. They play good defense. UCLA and then Tennessee over Wolford. So those are our first round picks. And let's not
Yeah.
waste
Let's
time.
not waste any time.
Let's go
Rapid
into the
fire.
second round of the
Yep.
South for Jake.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep riding here with Auburn. 1-9, Auburn's Auburn. Now, you love UC San Diego. That's your sleeper team of the tournament there. You mentioned they've got that big guy, whatever, all this stuff and whatnot, but they had their fun. I'm gonna go A&M here. Do a nice SEC matchup, going forward there. Now, North Carolina, Iowa State. Iowa State was your team that you said was going to win the whole thing, and you loved them, and you said by a landslide, and
That's
you
not
you already
at
bought your
all.
Iowa State merch, big Cyclone guy over here. But we're gonna go North Carolina. I don't th- I think they should be seated a lot better than where they're at, and I think they know that, and I think we're starting to realize that. Like you said, they're playing pissed off right now, and that's gonna help them out. Marquette, Michigan State. This is the month of Izzo. We're gonna keep going Sparty for a minute.
All right. Um, yeah, I mean, I think Auburn's too much for Louisville. Um, this one here, I got my twelve
This is
thirteen matchup.
unbelievable.
And again, like I said, for all the same reasons why I think that UC San Diego is going to be a problem for Michigan. I think they're going to be a problem for the Yale Bulldogs as well. So I'm going to go UC San Diego into the Sweet 16,
Unbelievable.
the 12 seed. And North Carolina is yeah. I mean, like I said, what a month ago or whatever, I thought Iowa State, but they just fell off. They completely. I gave them the kiss of death.
You
I
did.
gave Iowa State the absolute kiss of death, and we're going there. And then again, yes, it is the month of Izzo. So I think Sparty's a complete team. I think
Mhm.
they're one of, like you said, probably one of the three most complete teams in the country. And again, this is what Izzo does
Yep.
around this time of year. So that's the South. Let's venture down into the West in the second round for you.
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, you think college basketball, you think UConn. They're always good, but we talked about Florida. Florida's looking damn good right now. So yeah, Florida there. Memphis, Maryland. Again, Memphis always kind of sticks around in the tournament here. They're always kind of hanging around when it comes to college basketball, but I'm gonna go Maryland. Still, I still think Maryland. Like I said, other than that horrendous choke at the end of that Michigan game of the tournament, Maryland's looked pretty good. Missouri, Texas Tech. You actually went with the Drakes, so you don't even have Missouri in this one. I, I'm gonna go Texas Tech. Now this one's interesting because out of there were the top 5 teams that the nation bet to make the Final Four, and within that top 5, I believe the came in at number 3. That many people in the nation had St. John's in their Final Four. But we talked about Kansas, man. This one's tough, and I haven't really had any upsets as of late. But I think I'm going to save my big upset. We're going to go St. John's.
Okay. All right. And so I'm gonna head down into the West. And yeah, I mean Florida is scary good. It's I mean they're like those early 2000s Florida teams.
Yeah.
They're that good. Um Colorado State, Maryland. I think that Colorado State, they gave everything they had to be the 12-5 upset, and they just don't have anything left, and Maryland's going to wear them down. The Drakes, the defense, sometimes the team's just a little bit too much though, and I'm gonna go Tech over the Drakes again. I think that they're good enough to upset once, but to keep it going, I
Yeah.
don't know. This one, um, Patino, he's he's the only coach that's won conference championships with 5 different teams. I mean, it's unbelievable what he does. I think the Johnnies are going to be a problem. So I'll go there. All right, we're gonna go up to the East. And what say you,
For the East, yeah, Duke. I think Duke. I mean, there's not much to be said there.
big Duke guy? Big Duke guy.
Well, so let's pump the brakes a little bit. We got Oregon, Arizona. I think this will be a pretty fun matchup. It could be close, but well, hold on. What are you hovering over?
I don't know. I don't know what I
You,
was doing there.
yeah,
I was guessing. I was
you,
guessing.
you need to relax. You're gonna piss off Brad. We're gonna go
That's
with
right.
we're
You can't go
yeah,
get you can't go bear
no,
down.
no. So yeah,
The
we're
Wildcats got to bear down.
yeah, yeah. But we're gonna go with the Wildcats there. If you can find the mouse, there we go. Okay, now we got VCU, Wisconsin. I went with the nostalgia factor for the first round against VCU, but nostalgia. It's called nostalgia for you reminisce. You can only reminisce for so long before you got to just start living in the now. So we're gonna go Wisconsin,
Okay.
and then St. Mary's, Alabama. Not much to be said here. I'm gonna roll Tide. Go Bama there.
Rolling Tide. Okay, so yeah, Duke again, um, just solid. Um, I think Arizona's too much for Liberty. Again, it's the one and done upsets, kind of a thing. I think Wisconsin showed that they can play with anybody. That if they're going right, they're going right.
Mm.
Um, this is what Wisconsin does, right? They're probably one of the best first and second round teams in the history
Mm.
of college basketball. Um, so we're gonna go Wisconsin, and then yeah, I've got I'm rolling Tide as well, and so we'll move um, down to the Midwest.
Yeah. So I told you I'm saving an upset for later. However, looking at the rest of this bracket, it puts it in a tricky situation to continue picking if I call the upset now. So we're gonna stick with Houston. Again, I like to put Gonzaga up there. I like to think that Gonzaga's win-win-win when it comes to the tournament, but it makes the rest of my bracket weak having 8 and 5s going against each other there. And then Clemson, Purdue. Honestly, this one I don't know. I think that it doesn't really matter because I think whoever wins this game gets blown out to Houston. But just to lean Big Ten, we'll go Purdue. Illinois, Kentucky. Again, I'm just pissed off of this whole scenario. So we're gonna go Kentucky. And then go Big Orange. We got Tennessee here.
All right. So I'll move down here. Yeah, I think that Gonzaga loves being an underdog in the tournament, right? Um, there's a one seed has to go down sometime. We're not gonna have 4 1 seeds in the
Mhm.
final four. I'm gonna go Gonzaga.
Wow.
I'm gonna go Gonzaga. I'm gonna go Purdue out of the Big Ten, and you didn't want an 8-5, but I got an 8-4,
There you
which
go.
is kind of fun. It's kind of fun, and I think that that's where we're going to go with that. I do think Kentucky is too much for Illinois, and again, another SEC Big Ten. I think that the SEC team is going to be too much, so I'm going.
Well, Kentucky's not in the Big Ten, so
No way. Big Ten,
oh, oh, oh.
SEC, Big
Oh, a Big
Ten,
Ten, SEC. Okay, okay.
UCLA is now in the Big Ten.
Yeah, stupid.
Okay, so now let's go to the South region and which teams are going to advance on to
Yeah.
your Elite Eight.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the 1-2 matchup in the Elite Eight. We're gonna have Auburn and then Michigan State there. Not I'm not there's not much to go into that one.
Okay, and then we're going to go into the West.
Yeah. And then here again, Florida. And again, I very rarely do you end up with 1-2s and 3s throughout the stretch of the tournament here. But again, at this point, it doesn't really matter. But I'm gonna stick with St. John's for now over Texas Tech.
And then we're going up into the East with Duke,
Yeah,
Arizona.
yeah. I'm gonna piss off my guy Brad here. I'm sorry, but we're gonna go Duke. And then Wisconsin, Bama. Now this one gets tricky. Bama had a good year. Um, they beat Auburn. They split, but I just keep going back to that Wisconsin game against Michigan State, and I've got Michigan State graces here. So I'm gonna say Bama's luck runs out, and I'm gonna go Wisconsin.
And then we go to the Middle West.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Houston over for Purdue here. And while Kentucky I think is a great team, and Tennessee fell short against Florida, but other than that, Tennessee's looked good. We're gonna keep riding Rocky Top.
All right. Uh, so all right, let's see here. Um, yeah, I think the Tridents. um, of UC San Diego. I think that they've done just about as much as they can. I'm going to go Auburn, and I think again the chip on your shoulder can only run so long, and then you become who you really are, and that's probably your 1-9 against the top 25. And I think that it again, Michigan State is just solid. So we'll go there. Down here, we got Florida, Maryland. Again, I'm not going to waver off of Florida. Texas Tech and the Johnnies. It seems silly. Here we go, 1-2, 1-2, but I do like St. John's. Um, this is where we have, Duke. Yes, I think they're one of the best teams in the country. Barring something crazy, I think that they're going to coast through to that point. Um, Wisconsin is the best first and second round team in the country. I think that that's just what they do. But then once you get into the Sweet 16, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, they got a shot or whatever, and then boom, here comes an Alabama, and boom, of course, here comes another 1-2, 1-2. Right, like it's obnoxious, but I mean, logic and reasoning says that that's the way that it should be. Gonzaga, Purdue.
Very
Now we
true.
don't
Very
have
true.
our 1-2,
Yeah.
1-2s
There you
anymore.
go.
And I do think Purdue in the Big Ten. I think Gonzaga made their little bit of a run to say, hey, we're still here, but I think Purdue, and then I go Tennessee because I think that when Tennessee is right, they're unbeatable. The problem is how right are they going to be? But I'm gonna say they're gonna get it going. They made their nice little run in the SEC tournament. Um, and I think that they've got too much for Kentucky at this point. So now here we go. Who's a Final Four team out of Florida? Or no, we're going to start up here. We're
Yeah.
Auburn
Start
and
at top.
Michigan State. Who's your Final Four team?
Yeah, and you know what? Again, we've been making quite a few jokes about homers on this channel, and sticking to the home team, and all this. And while I am a Buckeye, yes, Sparty will always have a special place in my heart, and I will always cheer for Sparty as long as they aren't playing Ohio State. But all in all, this is the month of Izzo, and Auburn, they started to struggle down the stretch. They started to uh, something about them didn't give me a lot of confidence. I think they have sort of an easy, path to this game, but I think Izzo shuts him up real quick. So we're going Sparty. Then you come down here again. I just, Florida's on a tear right now. So talk about your St. John's. I'm gonna go Florida. Duke, Wisconsin. Yeah, I liked your point there. I know I had them upsetting Alabama. I think that's kind of their claim to fame now. They're a good first rounder. I think they're going to kind of get over that hump with that win over Bama, just because I think Bama also showed some signs of uncertainty down the stretch there. But I think once again it's just too much for him. So I'm going to go Duke. And yeah, we talk about 1-2s, 1-2s. It's annoying and Final Fours, 1 and 2s and all this and whatnot. It's just the way that it panned out. I think that it's very strong possibility. I got Tennessee over Houston here.
Okay,
And
so
and yeah,
that's your Final Four.
one,
You
two, one,
have
two. I know it's frustrating, but I mean, they're seated where they're at for a reason.
yeah. Um, all right, so I'm gonna come up here and yeah, Homer or not or whatever, being from Michigan and growing up rooting for Michigan State as the home state team and all that stuff and you know the 30 years of Izzo and um it's I mean this is what he does in March, but I will say this: no team that has lost three of their last four games has ever won a national championship. Auburn has come into the tournament losing 3 of their last 4 games. And I think that that's where we're gonna go here. We're gonna go Sparty. Down here, Florida and St. John's. I mean, there's no surprise. Again, Florida, I believe right now is the most complete team in the country. Um, Up here, Duke, Alabama. When you got the best player in the country and everything else, I do like Duke. Again, here we go, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. And I like Tennessee. I like for Rick Barnes to get back to the Final Four. And this is unbelievable how we went through all of this and the crazy upsets at the
I know.
beginning. We were
I
so
know.
far off and everything, but then we end up with the exact same Final Four.
Yeah.
So there we are with that. So what say you in the Final Four?
We've done a lot of talk here about Florida being a complete team, and I think everybody can kind of see what's coming here. Though I gotta stick to my roots, gotta stay close to home. We say it over and over again. It's the month of Izzo, man. I think it's been a while. It's been a while. Izzo needs one more before he can hang up his coaching jersey, hang up the quarter zip. So I'm gonna go Sparty here and send them into the national championship game. And then you go to the other side, Duke, Texas, right? I think Duke coasts, of course, if nothing happens. However, I think that all year long, Tennessee was a favorite and kind of they had a couple games here and there, but I think all in all, they've stayed where they need to be able to compete and get their way all the way to a national championship game. I got Tennessee here, get rid of Duke. And there we go. I got Sparty, Tennessee in my national championship. Now, do we go? Do you want to let's go through your Final Four first?
Yep. As much as I would love for Izzo to get another natty, I my heart and everything, what I want is I want for Michigan State, but I just think that Florida is, they're so complete offensively, defensively, rebounding. They're just, I mean, that SEC championship game, I mean, Tennessee was all over. They were, diving after every loose ball, they were scrapping, doing, everything they had and everything else. And they were doing that just to stay within 12 of Florida. And so I got Florida there. Over here, I do think Tennessee is a good team. I think that when they're playing well, I think this is where a little bit of the ACC wasn't necessarily that good this year. Maybe the competition that Tennessee had to go through with the SEC. I'm going back to a rematch of the SEC championship game in the national championship game, and I got Florida and Tennessee. So,
There you go.
what say you?
Yeah.
Your national champion of the 2025 NCAA tournament.
Yeah. I'll be right back.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. He's pulling a Lee Corso is what's happening here. Um what could this possibly be? Is he going to come in
All
with
right.
a
You know,
Sparty
we
head? No, and that
we've
was
done
about as anticlimactic.
we've done a lot of talk and explaining and all that, what's going on. We got to do it for Izzo, baby. One last time.
He's got the Sparty, Izzo as the
One last
natty.
time. One last time, Izzo.
Go
But we're
green.
gonna real quick the tiebreaker points per game there. What's the final score going to be? Michigan State, Tennessee. Michigan State had 78, was averaging 78 points per game. Tennessee 74. They got shooters, but they both can play defense as well. So because of that, stick around 148.
148. All right. I think that this is going to be a high scoring game, even though they both can play defense. They both can play offense as well. I think that what happened was that in the SEC championship game, I mean, it was, Tennessee was just trying to play catch up most of the time. It is hard to beat the same team twice in a championship game. Does Rick Barnes get his Tennessee Vols over the hump and win the national championship? They're coming off their first playoff in football. They're coming off the national championship in baseball. The swim and dive team setting national records and championships. Florida wins it.
Wow.
I think that I'm going to tell you, them going through that SEC tournament. I haven't seen a team as complete as them, and really just imposing their will of what they wanted to do. And they just kept coming. I mean, it was player after player after you couldn't stop one guy and then the other guy and everything. They come at you from all directions. They're so complete. And I think it's just too much. So we got a Sparty and we got a Gator. So that is that's our tournament pick 'em that we did. And we learned a lot about some universities, where they're at, what their mascots are. We learned that I love the 12-5 upset. We learned that I love some defense. But yeah, and then we also learned that no matter what you do, it comes down to 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. And if anybody's picking a 12 seed into the Final Four or an 8 seed into the Final Four, that's just out of sheer luck or Homerville for the team. Which, hey, whatever, it happens. It's good for you if you picked it. But yeah, the 1-2, 1-2, and there we are. So
yep, there's our picks. I know we've been anticipating this for a while. We've been talking about it last couple episodes. March Madness coming up. Well, it's here. So we got our brackets going. This tournament's getting ready to kick off. It's going to be fun. And actually, what do you got here for the Texas Xavier game now that it's all said and done?
So we're at 6 minutes to go, and we got a Texas 74-70 lead. They just hit a 3 to get to 74. It was 71-70, but they just hit a 3, so they're at 74-70 right now. And it's yeah, just under 6 minutes to go. So there's that.
So we'll see what ends up happening there. Honestly, and and unfortunately, we just didn't want to record, all throughout the night. But if Texas pulls that game off, that luckily I didn't have Illinois going far because I think Texas wins that first game. But yeah, guys. So there we are. There are brackets. There's March Madness. Next week, we still got some more football moves to talk about. A lot happened since our last episode in the NFL offseason. A lot of moves were made. A lot of those people we talked about that were free agents and requested trades all found new homes, with the exception of one or two that are still kind of lingering around. So we'll have a lot to talk about there. And then baseball season, it's here. I mean, it's spring training's about over. And
we had the Tokyo series.
And we did have the Tokyo series as well.
And the Dodgers, the Dodgers, went out there and handled their business. But so there we go. We can we might get to see a 162-0 team.
Gosh, that'd be unbelievable. But yeah, guys, next week get back into a little bit of everything for you. And then obviously keep you updated on our brackets. You got anything else?
And I will also keep updated on the guinea pigs. We don't have babies yet.
Stay tuned on the TikToks and Instagram.
That could be any day now. So we're waiting on that. So we'll see.
It's incredible what goes on up there.
Guinea pig saga. So,
all right.
That'll do it.
Boom. Till
next time. Like, follow, share, do all that good stuff.
Anything you can think of, just do it.
Yep.
All right.